That was the night my wife publicly explained why I was no longer her husband, without ever saying my name. My name's Cole, by the way. I'm 34. I pay my taxes. I don't hit anyone with my car. And until that Christmas Eve, I was pretty sure I wasn't doing a terrible job at being married. Apparently I was wrong. Silly me. It started like this. My wife, Naomi, stood in front of the mirror, putting on eyeliner like she was defusing a bomb. Our bedroom looked like a clothing store exploded. 3 dresses on the bed, 1 on the chair, 1 on the floor, and 1 on her. "How does this look?" she asked, turning her head left and right. She was in a tight dark green dress that I definitely had never seen before. It hugged everything people paid gym memberships for. "You look like a promotion," I said. "Like HR should warn people before you walk into a room." Naomi gave a tiny smile at her reflection, not at me. She flicked more highlighter on her cheekbones. "Be serious." "I am." Somewhere a dress code just gave up and went home. The smile faded. "Can you not turn everything into a joke?" she snapped. "Sure," I said. "You look great. Like, really great." "Better," she muttered, checking her hair again. "We're already late." "We're on time," I said. "You're just on boss time." She shot me a look. "It's my company Christmas party. I can't show up looking half asleep." "You already went to the company Christmas party," I said. "This is the special leadership night, remember? Different room, same bad music." She sighed. "Yes, and you're my +1, so please don't call it that in front of my boss." "Got it. I'll call it elite gathering of people who think email is personality instead." Cole. Fine. She picked up her phone, checked something, put it down, picked it up again. Her shoulders were stiff in that way I'd gotten used to the last few months. Her mind was always somewhere else these days, usually about 6 inches from her screen. "You're really sure you want me there?" I asked. "I can stay home, put on sweatpants, watch movies with explosions and no plot. I do that very well." She glared at me in the mirror. "I already told everyone you're coming." "That's not an answer," I said. "Yes, I want you there," she said too fast. "Can you just try to be normal?" "I am normal," I said. "You married this." She grabbed her clutch. "Exactly." That one stung a little, but I let it slide. Lately, letting things slide had become my main hobby. On the way there, she scrolled her phone with both thumbs, the glow lighting up her face. I drove, because apparently I look more like designated driver than festive guest. "Who are you texting?" I asked, mostly to see if she'd lie. "Work chat," she said. "We're organizing seating." "At a bar?" "At tables," she said. "It's a semi-formal dinner. Can you at least pretend to remember the email?" "I remember the part that said open bar," I said. "Everything after that was just noise." She didn't laugh. She just kept scrolling. "So who's going to be there?" I tried again. "Your team, your boss, the guy who steals everyone's leftovers from the fridge." "Cole," she cut in. "Please don't be weird around Dean." I blinked. "Dean?" She sighed like she'd explained this to me 12 times already. Maybe she had. "My coworker, from marketing. I told you about him." "You've told me about the team," I said. And we stayed late, and we had to fix the campaign. You didn't say the we had a name." Her jaw tightened. "You're doing that thing again." "What thing? Listening?" "Making everything sound suspicious," she said. "He's new. He moved here a few months ago. He doesn't know anyone. His family's back home. He's spending Christmas alone." "I didn't say anything," I said. "You made a face." "I have one face." "You know what I mean." I drummed my fingers on the steering wheel. "So he's going to be at the party?" "Yes," she said. "Obviously. We work together." "And you want me to not be weird around him?" "Yes." "Define weird," I said. "Because based on the last year, weird could mean breathe too loud." She closed her eyes briefly. "Just don't act jealous. Don't act threatened. Don't make comments. He's my coworker. We're friends. I don't want you giving off weird vibes." "Got it," I said. "No vibes at all. I'll just be a chair with a pulse." "That would be great," she said, looking back at her phone. We pulled up to the hotel. One of those places with too much glass in the front and a name that sounds like a vitamin. The lobby was full of people in suits trying to look relaxed and failing. Inside the event hall, everything was gold and red and trying too hard. Christmas trees in every corner, fake snow sprayed on windows, little reindeer silhouettes on the napkins. Some DJ was playing cheerful music at a volume that screamed networking. Naomi's shoulders straightened as soon as we walked in. She slipped into work Naomi like it was another dress. Her smile switched on. Her laugh changed pitch. It was like watching someone put on a character in real time. "Okay," she said under her breath. "Please, for the love of God, don't start with your corporate cult jokes in the first 10 minutes. "I'll save them for the second round of drinks," I said. She didn't answer. Someone called her name, and she was gone. 2 steps ahead, then 5. Then suddenly I was walking behind her like a bodyguard who forgot his sunglasses. A guy in a blazer with a Santa tie stepped in front of me. "You must be Naomi's husband," he said, shaking my hand too hard. "I'm Rick, finance." "Hi, Rick from finance," I said. "I'm Cole from reality." He laughed like I'd told the best joke of the night. "Good one. You in the industry too?" "I work in IT," I said. "Different company?" "Ah," he said, his interest dropping by about 40%. "Nice, good field, stable." "Like dry toast," I said. He had already turned away, eyes scanning for someone with a more important title. I found the bar and claimed my basic right as a +1, free alcohol. The bartender poured me a whiskey. "You with the company?" he asked. "With one of the employees," I said. "I'm emotional support." He smirked. "Rough crowd? Let's just say there's more ego per square meter here than oxygen," I said. I took a sip and watched Naomi work the room. She moved through little groups of people, laughing, touching arms, nodding at stories. I knew that version of her. Confident, sharp, quick. The one who survives meetings and eats deadlines for breakfast. I used to be the one she came home to after days like this. Now it felt like I was just background. I saw her glance at the door, check her phone, glance again. That little roller coaster drop hit my stomach. "There he is," my brain said. I didn't even know what he looked like yet, but my brain had already picked him out of the crowd. The tall guy in a fitted shirt, no tie, blazer open, walking like the room was already his. Dark hair, trimmed beard, smile that came easy. He stepped in, took a quick look around. Naomi's face lit up in a way I hadn't seen in a while. She walked toward him fast. Not running, but close enough. "Dean!" she called, her voice brighter than it had been all week. He grinned. "Hey, wow, you weren't kidding about the dress." She laughed a little too loud. "Shut up, you look good too." They hugged. Not a long hug, not obscene, but comfortable, familiar, confident, like it had muscle memory. I finished my whiskey in one swallow. Naomi turned, finally noticing me again. "Cole," she said, waving me over. "Come here." I walked up, putting on my neutral, polite face, the one I use when people say, "I'm not a tech person," and then hand me a laptop covered in crumbs. "Dean, this is my husband Cole," she said. "Cole, this is Dean. I told you about him." Dean stuck out his hand. "Hey man, good to meet you. I've heard a lot." "Have you?" I said, shaking his hand. Firm handshake, calm eye contact. He didn't look nervous at all. That annoyed me more than if he had. "Yeah," he said. "Naomi talks about you, the cooking, the motorcycle, what was it? Annoying but funny?" Naomi slapped his arm lightly. "I did not say annoying." He laughed. "Sorry, that was implied." "I'll take funny," I said. "The rest is accurate." "So you're the IT guy?" he asked. "With a different company," I said. "I just come here for the free drinks and the illusion of social skills." "Nice," he said. "I get that." Naomi checked her phone again. "We should find our table," she said. "They'll start speeches soon." She walked ahead with Dean. I followed a couple of steps behind, like the world's most overdressed Uber driver. We sat down at a round table labeled Marketing and Friends. I was clearly in the friends category. Everyone around me was marketing. There were 8 chairs. Naomi sat between Dean and her boss, a woman in a red blazer who looked like she ate fear for snacks. I ended up on Naomi's other side, next to some guy named Tyler who only talked about crypto. "So, what do you do, Cole?" Tyler asked after dessert appeared. "IT," I said. "I fix things for people who swear they didn't touch anything." He nodded like he understood deep truths. "You should really look into blockchain." "Yeah," I said. "I like my nightmares in 2D, thanks." On Naomi's other side, Dean was telling a story about their latest campaign. People actually laughed when he talked about data. That's how you know a room is drunk. Naomi leaned toward him, her shoulder grazing his arm. "Tell the part about the client call," she said. "The one where they wanted the logo bigger." Dean laughed. "Oh my God. Okay, so this guy..." I tuned them out halfway through, mostly because I'd heard the same rant from Naomi 3 times already. Now it came with sound effects and audience participation. Every few minutes, someone made a joke about working late, staying in the office, grinding. Every time, Naomi and Dean shared that look. The "we survived that together" look. At one point, Naomi turned to me. "You look tired," she said loudly enough for the whole table. "Again, I married into corporate events," I said. "My soul is tired, yeah," Dean snorted. "Same," Naomi smiled at him. "Yeah, but you still go to the gym after 12-hour days. That's insane." "What can I say?" Dean said. "I like pain." Naomi laughed, putting a hand briefly on his forearm. "He's like this all the time. It's annoying." "I used to think I had energy," I said lightly. "Then Naomi got a new coworker and now apparently I'm a retired grandpa." A couple of people smiled. Most just went back to their drinks. Naomi sighed. "Don't start, Cole." "Start what?" I asked. "That tone," she said. "You could try being supportive instead of sarcastic for once." "I am supportive," I said. "I'm literally here, in a blazer, at a work party, sober enough to remember it." Tyler looked between us like he'd just tuned into a show he didn't want to be in. Naomi rolled her eyes and turned back to Dean. "Ignore him," she said. "He thinks he's funny." "I am funny," I said. "You just switched teams." Dean raised his hand slightly. "Hey, I'm not part of this. I just wanted mashed potatoes and a paycheck." I had to give him that one. That was actually a decent line. The speeches started. Some VP with 2 white teeth talked about challenging quarters and record growth and our amazing people. Everyone clapped on autopilot. Naomi clapped hard when Dean's name was mentioned in the list of people who went above and beyond. She clapped softer when they mentioned the support from families and partners. I noticed. Between speeches, Naomi's boss leaned over her to talk to Dean. "We're really glad you joined us this year," the boss said. "You've brought a lot of drive." "I had good help," Dean said, nodding at Naomi. "She showed me how things actually work here." Naomi smiled in that humble but proud way. "We make a good team." I took a sip of my drink and said nothing. The old me would have made a joke, something like, "Hey, I thought I was part of that team." Tonight, I didn't bother. You can tell when a game is already rigged. No need to play along. After a while, the DJ switched from corporate Christmas background to people will pretend they enjoy this. Lights dimmed a little. More drinks went around. People got louder. Naomi went to the bar with Dean and a couple of others. I stayed at the table, scrolling my phone like every other bored +1 in history. A woman from HR sat down in Naomi's chair for a second. "You must be Cole," she said. "I've heard about you. You're the one who cooks." "I'm also allowed outside the kitchen sometimes," I said. "But yeah, that's me." "She's very lucky," HR lady said. "She always says you keep things running at home. Must be nice having a steady anchoring presence." "That's one way to describe a dishwasher with legs," I said. She laughed politely and wandered off to find someone with a LinkedIn profile she recognized. Naomi came back a few minutes later, drink in hand, cheeks a little flushed, eyes bright. Dean followed, carrying 2 shots and some kind of Christmas cocktail that looked like diabetes in a glass. "We're doing 1 round," Naomi announced, putting a shot in front of me. "Team spirit." "I'm not on your team," I said. "I'm freelance emotional support." "You're on my team," she said, almost annoyed. "Drink." I looked at the shot. "What is it?" "Does it matter?" she said. "Only if I want to remember tonight," I said, but I drank it anyway. It burned in that way that feels like regret in training. Dean raised his glass. "To surviving Q4, he said. A couple of people clinked glasses. Naomi didn't drink right away. She was looking at the small stage near the front, where a little microphone and stand had been set up. Her boss went up first. Short speech. More, "Thank you," more, "Proud of you all." Then a couple more department heads. Then I heard it. "Naomi, do you want to say something?" Someone called from the crowd. She hesitated, looked at Dean. He smiled and nudged her. "Go on, you love this stuff." She really did. Naomi stood up, smoothing her dress with her hands, and made her way to the little stage. People clapped, some whistled. She laughed into the mic. I felt my jaw tighten for no clear reason. Just a small, cold little spark at the back of my neck. Naomi looked around the room, her eyes bright. She held her glass in one hand, the microphone in the other. "Okay," she said. "I'll keep this short. For once." Light laughter around the room. I sat back, watching her. She looked good up there, confident, sharp, alive. I just had no idea that in the next few minutes, she was going to take our marriage, put it in a nice little box, and hand it to someone else, with everybody watching. Naomi cleared her throat and tapped the glass with her nail. "So," she started, "first of all, thank you all for making it through this year without collectively walking out and starting a bakery or something." Laughter. She always opened strong. I'd seen her do mini versions of this in meetings. She liked rooms that listened. "We had insane deadlines," she went on. "We had clients who changed their minds every 3 days. We had campaigns that looked impossible on Monday and somehow went live on Friday. People started clapping already. Someone yelled, 'Preach!' And we did it," she said. "Not because we're perfect, but because we have people who show up. People who are there when it's late, when half the office is dark, when everyone else has gone home." She paused. My chest tightened a little, because once upon a time, that speech would have been about us. About both of us. About how we survived hard years together. Now it wasn't. Naomi kept going. "For me," she said, "this year really showed what real support looks like, what real strength looks like. Not just talking, not just promising, actually showing up, being present. I used to think," she said, "that being strong meant keeping everything together alone, doing it all, not needing anyone. But this year I realized something." She lifted her glass a little. Her eyes scanned the room. For half a second they passed over me, like I was a chair. Then they landed on Dean. She held his gaze. "I realized," she said, "that real men don't run away from pressure. They don't disappear when it's hard. They don't make excuses. They don't say, 'I'm tired,' every time things get intense." Dean shifted in his chair, looking embarrassed, or pretending to. Hard to tell. Naomi kept her eyes on him. "Real men," she said, "stay. They're there in the office at 9, at midnight, at 2 in the morning. They're not just a name on paper. They're present, in the room. You can feel it." She smiled at him. A soft, weirdly private smile. My ears were buzzing, not from the alcohol, from the words. She wasn't yelling. She wasn't swearing. She wasn't saying, "My husband sucks." She didn't need to. "And I just want to say," she finished, voice a little lower, "I'm really grateful. To the men who showed up this year. The ones who were there. Really there." Her glass lifted a little more in Dean's direction. "That's what a real man looks like," she said. The table around him started clapping. The clapping spread. People whistled. Dean held up his glass, face red, shaking his head like, "Oh, come on," but still smiling. I sat very still. If you'd filmed it with no context, it would have looked like a normal, slightly cringy corporate speech. A woman rambling about hard work, pointing at a coworker, everyone drunk enough to call it inspiring. But I had context. I was the missing name in that sentence. Naomi stepped down from the little stage and was swallowed up by people patting her arm, telling her good speech, raising their drinks. I watched her walk back to the table. She looked lighter, like she'd been carrying something and just put it down. Dean grinned when she sat. "You didn't have to do that," he said. "Yes, she did," someone else joked. "You carried half this team on your back, man." "Still," Dean said, "now everyone expects me to be real all the time. That's pressure." Naomi laughed and put a hand on his shoulder. "You'll survive." I took a slow breath and stood up. "Bathroom," I said to no one in particular. I walked out of the hall, past the bar, into the empty hallway with the cheap hotel art and that weird hotel smell of cleaning products and too much perfume. I stared at my reflection in the bathroom mirror for a second. I looked normal, maybe a little pale, tie slightly crooked, eyes a little harder than usual. I washed my hands even though they weren't dirty. It gave me something to do. I didn't cry. I didn't punch the mirror. I just filed it. She just called you not a real man, I thought. In public, to your face, without your name. Cute. When I walked back into the hall, Naomi was at the bar alone, ordering something pink that came with a rosemary twig. Dean was talking to someone else across the room. Perfect. I walked over, calm. "Nice speech," I said, coming up beside her. She startled a little. "Oh, thanks." The bartender slid her drink over. She took a sip, avoiding my eyes. "So," I said, "am I allowed to ask one question, or does that ruin the vibe?" She sighed. "Cole, please not right now." "It's a yes or no thing," I said. "Was that aimed at me?" Her jaw flexed. "What?" "The whole part about real men not disappearing, not saying they're tired, showing up, being present," I said quietly. "Was that about me? Or did you just accidentally read my performance review out loud?" She stared at me for a second, then barked out an annoyed laugh. "Oh my God, are you serious?" "Extremely," I said. "It's kind of my thing." She rolled her eyes and faced the bar again. "You are unbelievable." "Thank you," I said. Not the adjective I expected, but I'll take it. "That was not about you," she snapped under her breath. "Everything is not about you, Cole." "Really?" I said. "Because I'm pretty sure everyone at our table saw that glass aimed away from your actual husband and toward your emotional support marketing guy." Her eyes flashed. "Don't call him that." "I'm sorry," I said. "You're right. He's your real man now. I'm the guy who pays the Wi-Fi." "You're being ridiculous," she hissed. "It was a speech. It was a moment. That's it." "A moment," I repeated. "Yeah. Where you defined what a real man is and visibly did not mean the one you're married to. Tiny detail." She shook her head, lips pressed together. "You're twisting everything. Why do you always do this?" "Always?" I said. "Naomi, this is the first time you've called me not a real man in front of 40 drunk coworkers. It's pretty new for me." "I did not say that," she said. "Those are your words, your insecurity. I never said your name." "That's the point," I said, leaning just a little closer. "You didn't have to." She let out a hard breath. "You're going to turn this into some big victim story, aren't you?" "I'm actually trying very hard not to," I said. Hence the calm voice and the lack of broken glass. "You're trying to ruin my night because you can't handle that someone complimented Dean," she said. "Do you have any idea how much he worked, how much we worked?" "I do," I said. "Believe me, I heard every story twice, once from you at home, once now with laugh tracks. Then maybe instead of sulking, you could say, 'Hey, I'm proud of you,'" she shot back. "Is that so hard?" "No," I said. "I am proud of you. I've always been proud of you. I told you that last week when you came home at midnight and fell asleep in your coat." "Then what is your problem?" she demanded. "My problem," I said quietly, "is that you used a microphone to explain to a room full of people what a real man is, and somehow the one who has been married to you for 7 years didn't fit the description." She rolled her eyes again so hard I thought they might get stuck. You're so dramatic. Actually, I'm very calm right now, I said. Dramatic would be me grabbing the mic and doing a counter speech. Real wives don't publicly audition replacements. That would be dramatic. Her head snapped toward me. Don't you dare talk like that. Like what? I asked. Like someone who watched his wife toast another man as the example of masculinity while he was sitting 6 feet away? You're jealous, she said. That's all this is. You couldn't stand that for once. The attention wasn't on you. I stared at her. Then I actually laughed, short and humorless. Naomi, I'm the +1 at your corporate party, I said. There is literally no universe where the attention is supposed to be on me. I didn't want a spotlight. I just didn't expect you to point it at the guy you've been staying late with and say, that's what a real man looks like. She took a long sip of her drink, jaw tight. You're hearing what you want to hear, she said finally. It was about work ethic, about being there for the team, about not complaining all the time. I nodded slowly. Got it. So I'm lazy, I complain, and I don't show up. I didn't say that, she said again. You didn't have to, I repeated. She groaned and rubbed her forehead. Why do you do this? Why do you always look for something wrong? Can't you just be happy for me? Just once? Without turning it into some test I fail? I am happy for you, I said. I'm just not happy about being downgraded from husband to guy who drives you here. That's not what this is, she said. Then what is it? I asked quietly. Because from where I'm standing, it looked a lot like you telling a room full of people that your definition of a real man has moved. And conveniently, it landed right next to the guy you just work late with. She stared at me, eyes hard. You're pathetic, she said softly. You know that? You have a problem with confidence and you're trying to make it my fault. There it was. I smiled. Not the nice one. The other one. Okay, I said. Good to know. That's it? She said. You're just going to shut down now? Yeah, I said, stepping back. Apparently I'm not a real man anyway. Might as well save my fake one for the drive home. Cole, I'm not going to yell, I said. I'm not going to make a scene. Enjoy your night, Naomi. I turned and walked away before she could answer. I went back to the table, grabbed my jacket from the back of the chair, and slipped it on. Someone from Naomi's team looked up. Heading out? He asked. Fresh air, I said. I stepped outside the hall into the lobby again. The music dulled behind the doors. People moved in slow motion in the hallway, going to the bathroom, answering calls, flirting near the elevators. The doors opened and Dean stepped out, laughing at something someone behind him said. He saw me and nodded. Hey, he said, walking over. You okay, man? You ghosted the table. I'm fine, I said. Just needed a break. We stood there for a second in awkward silence. Naomi's looking for you, he said. She seemed pissed. Shocking, I said. She didn't like my Yelp review of her speech. He winced. Look, man, for what it's worth, I did not ask for that. I know, I said. He scratched the back of his neck. She just gets intense. About work. About everything. I'm aware, I said. I've seen her argue with a toaster. He snorted. Yeah, that sounds right. I studied his face for a second. He looked genuinely uncomfortable. Guilty, even. Or maybe he was just good at social survival. You two close? I asked, keeping my tone casual. He shrugged. We work a lot together. Late nights, big campaigns. You know how it is. I don't, actually, I said. My job doesn't come with PowerPoints and heartfelt speeches. He gave a small smile. She talks about you, you know. Oh, I said. What's the current script? My husband is pathetic and insecure, or he's lazy and complains a lot. His eyes widened. Whoa. No, she says you're steady, that you take care of things, that you cook. Steady, I repeated. Cool. I've become positive furniture. He looked like he wanted to say something but thought better of it. I'm gonna get back in there, he said finally. You coming? In a minute, I said. He nodded and went back into the hall. I stayed where I was, hands in my pockets, breathing in and out slowly. letting the cold air from the entrance doors cool my face. I pushed myself off the column and headed back in. If I was going to end my marriage, I wasn't going to do it by sulking in the lobby like a teenager. I was going to sit at that table, watch everything, remember every detail. Then I'd decide what to do with it. I went back to the table. Naomi didn't look at me when I sat down, not even a quick check-in glance. Just straight ahead, body turned slightly toward Dean, like that was the default now. Conversation kept flowing. Work jokes, end-of-year nonsense. Someone started a loud debate about bonuses. I became invisible again, which honestly took less effort than I expected. Naomi leaned toward Dean. "Did you tell them about the weekend sprint?" He grinned. "You mean the one where we slept at the office?" She laughed. "Worth it, though." "Totally," he said. "Not everyone can handle that kind of pressure." She nodded. "Yeah, some people just shut down when things get hard." She didn't look at me when she said it. I looked right at her. She knew exactly what she was doing, and she also knew no one else at the table would call it out. I took a sip of my drink and smiled to myself. Not angry, not hurt, just clear. Someone across the table asked me, "So Cole, what do you think about all this marketing madness?" Before I could answer, Naomi jumped in. "He doesn't really get it," she said lightly. "He prefers simpler things." Dean chuckled. A couple of others smiled politely. "Yeah," I said calmly. "I like jobs where no one applauds themselves for sending emails." That got a few laughs. Naomi didn't join them. She leaned closer to Dean again, close enough that her knee brushed his. It stayed there. At that point, it stopped feeling personal. It started feeling procedural, like watching a company restructure. You don't argue with it. You just note the changes. Later, people started leaving their tables, drifting toward the bar, the dance floor, anywhere but their assigned seats. Naomi stood up. "I'm going to mingle," she said, already halfway turned away. "Of course," I said. "You wouldn't want to be present with the wrong person." She shot me a look, not angry, annoyed. Dean followed her a second later. I stayed seated for a bit, finishing my drink, watching reflections in the glass. It was funny, in a dark way. I felt more sober than I had all night. When I finally stood up, I saw them near the exit. Naomi was saying goodbye to a small group. Dean stood close. Too close. She touched his arm. He leaned in. Not a kiss. Not even almost. Just that quiet, private distance reserved for people who already crossed a line somewhere else. "Text me when you get home," he said. She smiled. "I will." They hugged, longer than necessary. She didn't look around to see if I noticed. She already knew. I walked past them without stopping. "Ready?" she asked, catching up to me near the coat rack. "Yeah," I said. "I've seen enough corporate culture for 1 year." The ride home was quiet. She scrolled her phone. I watched the road. "You were weird tonight," she said eventually. "Interesting," I replied. "I was thinking the same about you." She scoffed. "You made everything awkward." "I didn't grab a microphone," I said. "Check the footage." She shook her head. "You always do this. You shut down instead of talking." "No," I said calmly. "I listen. Then I decide." She didn't answer. At home, she went straight to the bedroom. I stayed in the kitchen, poured a glass of water, stood there longer than necessary. That was the moment I knew. Not because of Dean, not because of the toast, because she wasn't worried. Not even a little. She thought she'd won something that night, and I realized I was done competing in a game I never agreed to play. I didn't pack a bag. I didn't announce anything. I didn't threaten. I just stopped reaching, stopped explaining, stopped trying to prove I was a real man by someone else's definition. She fell asleep quickly. I didn't. I lay there staring at the ceiling, calm in a way that surprised me. Some people leave with a fight. I left by deciding. Morning came without drama. No headache, no guilt hangover, just sunlight through the blinds and the sound of the coffee machine. Naomi moved around the kitchen like it was any other workday. Phone on the counter, hair tied up, calm, comfortable. She poured coffee, took a sip, then finally looked at me. "So," she said, "are we done being weird?" I leaned against the counter. "We need to talk." Her shoulders stiffened just a little, not fear, annoyance. "About last night?" she asked. "Because if this is another replay—" "It's not," I said. "That's kind of the point." She sighed and sat down. "Okay, go on." I didn't raise my voice, didn't pace, didn't point fingers. "I'm not staying in this marriage," I said. Just like that. She blinked. "Wow, okay, dramatic opening." "I'm serious." She laughed once, short. "You're upset. Give it a day." "No," I said. "I gave it 7 years." That got her attention. "You don't get to throw everything away because of one stupid toast," she snapped. "It wasn't the toast," I said. "The toast just made it public." She crossed her arms. "Public what, exactly?" "That I'm not the man you respect," I said. "That I'm not the man you admire. That I'm not even the man you'd look at while saying the words, real man." She opened her mouth, then closed it. "I didn't say your name," she said finally. "I know," I said. "That was the problem." She shook her head. "You're twisting this. It was about work, about effort, about him," I cut in, still calm. "And you know it." Her jaw tightened. "So what? You're jealous?" "No," I said. "I'm done." That landed harder. She leaned back. "You can't just decide that." "I can," I said. "I just did." Silence stretched. "You're overreacting," she said. "Every couple has rough patches." "This isn't rough," I said. "This is empty." She stared at me like she was trying to find the version of me that would back down. "You'll regret this," she said. "Maybe," I replied. "But I'd regret staying more." Her voice sharpened. "So you're just leaving? Because your ego got bruised?" "No," I said. "Because I don't want to be married to someone who auditions my replacement in public." She stood up. "Nothing happened." "Something did," I said. "You stopped seeing me as your husband. I just caught up." She searched my face. "You're really doing this?" "Yes." "For what?" she demanded. "So you can feel like a man again?" I smiled slightly. "No, because I already do." That shut her up. I grabbed my jacket. "We'll figure out logistics later. I'm not trying to hurt you." She laughed bitterly. "How generous." "Cole," she said behind me. "You're making a mistake." I paused, hand on the handle. "No," I said. "I ignored one for a long time. This is me fixing it." I left, and for the first time since that toast, I didn't feel small walking away. The divorce was quiet. No screaming lawyers, no public meltdowns, just paperwork, signatures, and a lot of things that used to belong to us, becoming very specific lines on a form. Naomi never ended up with Dean. Turns out, he liked his job more than the idea of being her scandal. He didn't want HR meetings, whispers in the hallway, or his name attached to the word affair. So he stepped back, quickly, professionally. Naomi didn't take that well. By the time the papers were finalized, the attention was gone. The office had moved on. New projects, new faces, the same speeches, just different names. She told people the marriage just didn't work out. I didn't correct her. Some losses don't look dramatic from the outside, but I knew the truth. That night at the corporate party wasn't the beginning of her new life. It was the moment she lost the one person who would have stayed, even when no one else did. If you felt this story hit hard, drop a like, subscribe for more, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support keeps Steelheart beating.